Take a listen at the joint press conference between the Senegalese President Bassirou Diomaye Faye and his Spanish counterpart Pedro Sanchez, following their face-to-face meeting and extensive exchanges between their two delegations at the Palace of the Republic in Dakar on August 29, 2024. It's a conference in which the two heads of state touch on the current security crisis in the Sahel region, the irregular migration issue particularly across the Mediterranean Sea, and the ongoing war between Israel and Hamas in Gaza, and Israel's oppression of Palestine, that is in addition to their respective countries' issues. Once again, thank you. I welcome you and your delegation, and I would like to tell you that I greatly appreciate your visit. Which testifies to the bonds of cordial friendship and trusting cooperation between Senegal and Spain. Our bilateral relations are based on shared values of attachment to democracy, to the promotion and respect of human rights, as well as commitment to peace, for peace at the global level and for international security. I expressed to President Sanchez my appreciation of the constant support of Spain in the development efforts of Senegal through the framework agreement, which covers two varied strategic areas, such as agriculture, hotel infrastructure, the environment, defense and security, as well as the fight against irregular migration.
La défense et la sécurité, ainsi que bien sûr la lutte contre la migration irrégulière.
I also said thank you to President Sanchez for the friendly welcome reserved for the Senegalese community living in Spain. We agreed to explore ways of strengthening cooperation in areas such as agriculture, vocational and technical training, industrialization and digitalization, which are priorities for our country.
L'industrialisation et la digitalisation qui sont des priorités pour notre pays. À ce propos,
in this regard, my government is finalizing the development of the 2050 vision, which is the reference framework on public policies that will be made available to partners and any potential investor. Spanish investors, Mr. Prime Minister, as I told you, are welcome. And I strongly encourage their contribution to achieving our cooperation objectives. Regarding migration, we have talked about it. We are concerned about the massive departures from the Senegalese coast with Spain as a destination. The government of Senegal, led by the Prime Minister, is working on ways and means to stop the waves of illegal departures. Our country will continue to fight against irregular migration with its partners, including Spain. But in addition to repressive measures, closer cooperation between the two countries is necessary to combat the root causes of these phenomena. The objective of the Senegalese government is, on the one hand, to develop projects aimed at establishing candidates for irregular immigration in their country and, on the other hand, to promote safe and orderly migration. Our meeting also covered other major topics of interest, such as the situation in the Sahel in the face of terrorism, which requires a global mobilization of the international community and especially of Europe alongside the countries concerned. Because it is known that the African and European continents have a linked security destiny. At the international level, we have noted that Senegal and Spain have convergences of views, particularly on respect for multilateralism as the foundation of peaceful coexistence. For Senegal, only a multilateral approach can help to raise the global level. This is why we reiterate our support for the Spanish initiative to support multilateralism.
Nous parlons d'un
Of
multilatéralisme
course,
ouvert,
we are talking about an open, more transparent,
plus juste et
fairer
plus
and more
inclusif
inclusive
pour une
multilateralism for a
réforme de la
reform of global
gouvernance
political,
politique,
economic and financial
économique et
governance.
financière mondiale. Le Sénégal, en sa qualité de
Senegal,
président
in
du
its
Comité des
capacity as
Nations
chair
Unies
of the
pour
United Nations
l'exercice
Committee on the
du droit
exercise of the
inaliénable du
inalienable
peuple
right of the
palestinien,
Palestinian people,
a
strongly
fortement
welcomes Spain's
salué la
decision to
décision de
recognize the
l'Espagne
state
de
of
reconnaître
Palestine.
l'État de Palestine. À ce propos, le Sénégal réitère
In this
sa
regard,
condamnation
Senegal
ferme de la
reiterates its
situation
firm
catastrophique
condemnation
à
of the
Gaza,
catastrophic situation
où la
in Gaza,
population vit
where the
une
population
tragédie
is experiencing an
sans précédent,
unprecedented
et fait
tragedy and is
face au
facing
mépris des
disregard
règles
for the most basic
humanitaires
humanitarian
les plus
rules by the
élémentaires par
occupying
la
power.
puissance occupante. Le Sénégal appelle à nouveau
Senegal
à
once
un
again
cessez-le-feu
calls for an
immédiat
immediate cessation
et
of
à la
hostilities and the
solution
two-state
de deux
solution,
États,
the only guarantee
seul
of
gage
lasting
d'une
peace
paix
in the
durable
region.
dans la région. Voilà les quelques mots que je
These are
voulais
the few
dire
words I wanted to
avant
say
de passer
before
la
handing
parole
over to
au
President
président
Sanchez.
Sanchez. Merci.
Thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. Je voudrais tout d'abord
Thank you
remercier
very much,
mon ami,
Mr.
le Président
President.
de la République
I would
du
first like to
Sénégal
thank my friend,
et
the
son
President of the
Excellence,
Republic of
Monsieur
Senegal, and His
Faye,
Excellency
de
Mr.
son
Bassirou Diomaye
accueil
Faye for his
chaleureux
warm
lors
welcome
de
during my
ma
visit to
visite à
Dakar.
C'est un vrai honneur pour moi de faire
It is a
cette
real
visite
honor for me to make this
officielle
official bilateral visit, and I thank you, Mr. President.
Mi más sincera gratitud al
It is
presidente
my most
Faye,
sincere gratitude to President Faye, the Prime Minister, the members of the government for their hospitality and for their warm welcome. This is my second official visit to Senegal, and I believe that this clearly shows the excellence of the bilateral relationship between our two countries. President Faye and I have had a fruitful dialogue on topics of common interest, as he mentioned in his speech. We first discussed the economic situation between our two countries. The presence of Spanish companies that support the development of Senegal is very important.
Espagnole qui appuie le développement du Sénégal est très importante. Ce matin, j'ai participé à une rencontre avec de nombreuses entreprises espagnoles et j'ai pu constater leur dynamisme et la ferme volonté de développer et d'intensifier leur activité au Sénégal. C'est la meilleure formule pour
This
lutter
morning,
contre
I took part in a meeting with many Spanish companies, and I was able to see the dynamism and their firm desire to develop and intensify their activity in
Nous
Senegal.
avons mis en œuvre
This is the best way to combat inequality and illegal immigration.
Une initiative du ministère de l'économie
In
qui
this sense,
contribuera
we have implemented an important initiative, the Alliance of l'Avance Afrique, an initiative of the Ministry of Economy that will help boost investments in Senegal and West Africa to encourage productive
Il y a
development.
l'exemple d'Ispasat.
There is the example of Ispassit that was presented during this trip, that will provide satellite coverage in Senegal and other countries in the region in order to improve connectivity and digitalization of the continent.
Digitalisation du continent. Nous avons également parlé de la gestion
We
des
also
flux
talked about the
migratoires,
management of
comme
migratory
l'a fait
flows as the
référence le
President
président.
referred to.
Je veux tout d'abord insister sur
I want to first emphasize the excellent experience that we have in terms of collaboration with Senegal in this area.
C'est juste. Et je crois que nous
It
pouvons
must be said,
continuer
it is
de
ugly,
renforcer
it is fair,
cette
and I believe that we can
extraordinaire
continue to strengthen this
collaboration en
extraordinary
matière migratoire.
collaboration in the area of
Voilà pourquoi
migration.
nous avons signé un mémorandum d'entente
That is why we
en
signed a
matière de
memorandum of
migration
understanding on circular migration.
Cela permettra d'élargir et d'améliorer
This will allow us to expand and improve the system that is already working, integrate new sectors of activity, encourage the training of Senegalese workers who come to Spain.
Sénégalais qui viennent en Espagne. L'embauche dans le pays d'origine, la migration ordonnée,
Hiring in the
cela est
country
bon
of
pour nous
origin,
tous.
orderly migration,
C'est un vaccin
this is good
contre
for all of
ceux
us.
qui font de l'immigration clandestine un négoce.
It is a vaccine against those who make illegal immigration a business, mafias that use illegal immigration and who encourage those who spread hatred and exclusion.
Et qui encourage ceux qui étendent la haine et l'exclusion. Hier, j'étais à l'Institut Cervantes.
Yesterday, I was at the St. Bantasha Institute with, the ministers of Senegal were present.
L'Institut Cervantes de Dakar est le premier qui a été ouvert en Afrique
The St. Bantasha Institute in Dakar is the first to be opened in sub-Saharan Africa, and they presented us with a project called Tears Ellis Tears Firms, which is aimed at young Senegalese victims of illegal immigration. This training project is funded by the Spanish government, the Canary Islands government and the Chambers of Commerce. This marks the way forward in light of the results that have been achieved. The President and I agree that security is essential, and our security forces have been working together for many years. Our collaboration is an example of bilateral cooperation to deal with people smuggling mafias and organized crime. Finally, we talked about the situation in the Sahel, as President Faye said earlier, and I would like to congratulate the President and his government for their leadership at the regional level, particularly in terms of mediation in the Sahel. This is extremely important. This region is of strategic importance for Spain, and we want to contribute to its prosperity, its stability. So once again, I want to emphasize the mediation role of President Faye between ECOWAS and Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger. This visit to Senegal was fruitful, very positive, and I am convinced that we are going to strengthen the relationship between our two countries even more. If you allow me, I would like to address other subjects. I have transmitted to the President of Senegal the proposal, the invitation of the King of Spain to make an official visit to Spain. We will do so as soon as the President's schedule allows.
Nous le ferons dès que l'agenda du président le lui permettra. Et ensuite, j'aimerais remercier de tout cœur.
And then, I would like to thank with all my heart Senegal's support for Spain's recognition of the state of Palestine.
Soutien du Sénégal quant à la reconnaissance de l'État de Palestine par l'Espagne. L'Espagne a toujours défendu, le gouvernement de l'Espagne.
Spain has always defended, the government of Spain has always defended the international order, respect for international legality, and therefore the total and categorical condemnation of any suffering suffered by the population in Gaza and for the Palestinian people in Gaza, and also as you have just seen in the West Bank. Humanitarian aid must be able to enter Gaza, and the international community must hold a peace conference to definitively recognize the two-state solution, so that like Spain and Italy, Palestine and Israel can live side by side in peace. This is my last stop on my tour of Africa, and I would therefore like to give the Spanish press a brief summary of this tour. First of all, I must acknowledge the great effort that these three friendly countries, Mauritania, Gambia and Senegal, are making to curb the tragedy of thousands of people who risk their lives in search of a better life. The government of Spain is firmly determined to contribute to this effort by creating new opportunities for economic development, supporting the fight against mafias, organized crime, in particular by strengthening the security capabilities of these countries, and finally by offering alternatives for regular, safe migration, and this is Spain's bet with irregular migration.
Des alternatives de migration régulière, sûre, et c'est là le pari de l'Espagne avec la migration circulaire. La migration n'est pas un conte de fées. Les Espagnols
Migration is not bad, and that's a fact. The Spanish know this very well. Not long ago, we were a country of migrants. But migration is necessary, and what's more, it is good for both the countries of origin and the countries of destination. And I insist once again on orderly migration, because irregular migration is a hell that leads to extreme situations of exploitation and inequality, both for migrants, and above all, it is a serious danger for young people who fall into the nets of these mafias.
Pour les migrants, et surtout, c'est un grave danger pour les jeunes qui tombent dans les filets de ces mafias. Nous devons donc promouvoir une
We therefore came to promote regular and orderly migration, and I want to thank the efforts made by the three governments of the countries we have just visited, and thank President Faye since you equally agreed on the efforts of Senegal.
Je dresse un bilan très positif de ce voyage.
I draw a very positive assessment of this trip, which highlights the importance that Spain gives to Senegal, and also to Mauritania, and to Gambia as a partner, and as a friend in Africa, which is a friendship that allows us to face common challenges.
En Afrique, une amitié qui nous permet de faire face aux enjeux communs.